The night she appeared at his door, winter had wrapped the valley in a silence so deep it felt deliberate. Snow pressed against the cabin walls, and the wind clawed at the roof as if searching for a way inside. Elias had just finished banking the fire when a knock sounded, soft, uneven, almost apologetic. He stood still, listening, instinct warning him that opening the door meant changing, something he had carefully kept, unchanged for years. The knock came again, weaker this time. With a quiet sigh, he pulled the door open. She nearly fell forward, catching herself on the frame. Her hair was damp with melting snow, her cheeks raw from cold, her eyes wide with a fear that went beyond the storm. "Please," she said, voice trembling. "Don't throw me out." "I'll warm your bed." The words sounded practiced, like a line she had been forced to memorize, but shame followed them instantly, burning hotter than the cold. Elias felt a tightening in his chest. He had expected many things, lies, threats, demands, but not that. He stepped back, not away from her, but away from the meaning of her offer. "You don't have to say that here," he replied calmly. "And you're not being thrown out." He took her shawl gently, set it near the fire, and guided her inside without touching her more than necessary. She hovered near the doorway, uncertain, as if warmth itself were a trap. Elias poured water into a kettle, the simple sound grounding the room. "Sit," he said, nodding toward a chair. "The fire won't bite." When she finally obeyed, her hands shook so badly he wrapped them in a wool blanket before handing her a cup of tea. She drank as if each sip were proof she was still alive. "I'm Mara," she murmured after a while. "Elias," he answered, taking the chair opposite her, careful to keep space between them. He asked no questions about where she had come from or why. The storm outside spoke loudly enough of desperation. As the wind screamed and the fire crackled, something unfamiliar settled into the room. Not desire, not pity, but respect. When night deepened, Elias laid a pallet near the hearth and pointed her to the bed. "Sleep," he said simply. "You're safe tonight." She looked at him then, truly looked, confusion giving way to disbelief. As she lay down, wrapped in warmth without cost, tears slid silently into the pillow. And for the first time in a long while, she slept without fear of what morning would demand from her. Mara woke to the sound of quiet movement and the unfamiliar comfort of warmth that had not been earned through fear. Morning light slipped through the small window, catching dust in the air and painting the room in soft gold. For a moment she panicked, expecting a demand, a reminder of the bargain she had offered the night before. But there was only the smell of bread and the gentle clink of a cup being set on the table. Elias moved about the cabin with unhurried calm, as if her presence had not disrupted his world, but simply added another rhythm to it. "There's food," he said without turning, careful not to startle her. "Eat while it's warm." The words held no expectation, and that unsettled her more than hunger ever had. She sat slowly, testing the reality of kindness like thin ice beneath her feet. The days that followed did not rush. Snow still ruled the land, but inside the cabin time softened. Mara found herself helping without being asked, sweeping the floor, mending a tear in Elias's coat, setting water to boil before he returned from outside. Each small act felt strange because it was freely given, not calculated for survival. Elias noticed, thanked her, and never mistook her effort as a debt. One evening, while the fire burned low and shadows leaned against the walls, Mara finally spoke of the life she had learned to endure. She told him how warmth had always come with conditions, how her worth had been measured by what she could give up rather than who she was. Her voice did not shake as much as she expected, but her hands twisted in her lap, betraying years of learned caution. Elias listened without interruption, his eyes steady, his silence full rather than empty. "You're more than what you've been forced to trade," he said when she finished. "And you don't owe me your body for shelter, not now. Not ever." The certainty in his voice cracked something open inside her. Tears followed, not sharp and panicked, but slow and heavy, like snow melting at last. That night, Elias placed a lamp beside her bed and left the door slightly open, a quiet signal of trust. Mara lay awake longer than she should have, listening to the wind lose its anger outside. She realized that for the first time, warmth had not been taken from her, it had been offered. And in that gentle exchange, Something inside her began to heal piece by careful piece. Spring arrived without ceremony, creeping into the valley as if unsure it would be welcomed. Snow thinned into silver streams, and the earth breathed again. Mara noticed the changes. Before Elias did, the way light lingered, longer in the evenings, the scent of damp soil beneath the cold air, the quiet hope hidden in small things. She had changed too. Her shoulders no longer curved inward. Her voice carried strength instead of apology. They worked side by side, not bound by need but by choice. Elias taught her how to plant along the sun-warmed edge of the cabin, and she showed him how to stitch with patience rather than haste. Laughter found its way between them, surprising them both. It was not loud or reckless, but real. In the evenings, they spoke of ordinary things, weather, plans, memories that no longer hurt to touch. Trust had grown quietly like roots beneath the soil, unseen yet unbreakable. One morning, Mara stood at the doorway with a small bundle in her hands. The world beyond the cabin no longer frightened her. She had strength now, and with it came a truth she needed to honor. "I think I should go," she said gently. "Not because I have to, because I can." The words trembled, but her resolve did not. Elias felt the weight of them settle in his chest. He nodded once, pride and sadness woven together. He did not offer reasons for her to stay. He did not reach for her hand. "Then go," he said softly, "and live well." His respect was the final gift, and she felt it more deeply than any plea could have reached. She stepped outside, paused, and turned back. Sunlight caught her face, no longer shadowed by fear. "You warmed my heart first," she said. "Before anything else. I'll never forget that." Then she walked away, leaving behind not emptiness, but meaning. Weeks passed. Elias returned to his routines, yet something in the cabin felt fuller, as though kindness had marked the walls. When the door knocked again one evening, his heart knew before his mind did. Mara stood there, not desperate, not cold, but certain. "I came back," she said, smiling. "Not for shelter, for us." This time, when warmth was shared, it was not born of survival, but of love freely chosen, steady, respectful, and lasting.